Today is National Championship Day. If you are not watching the game today, what are you doing? What are you doing? If you're at work, put it on your computer, put it on your phone. I don't know what you need to do, but make sure you are watching this game today, okay? It is about to be one of the most viewed games in women's college basketball history. We got number 1 Iowa facing off against number 1 South Carolina today. Now, let me tell you, there's a lot of storylines in all of this that you need to understand why this game is huge. Iowa, it's a chance at history. If they were to win today, this would be their first national championship in program history. Not to also mention a lot of their main players. This is their last collegiate game, including Caitlin Clark, who we know we'll see in the W. For South Carolina, they're still undefeated. So for the chance to be regarded as one of the best teams in women's college basketball history with an undefeated season and a national championship, while also adding to the legacy of Dawn Staley, is huge, especially when they were ranked number 6 going into the season. To also add some spice to the game, we have to bring up that this is a rematch. Last year when Iowa and South Carolina faced off, Caitlin Clark went crazy. She had about 41 points with a trip to go to the national championship game. And we all know about her waving off Raven Johnson during the game. And Raven Johnson saying that it changed her life forever. She thought about quitting basketball after this, but said, no, I'm going to get in the gym. I'm going to get up shots. I'm going to get better. And now Raven Johnson's one of the best shooters for South Carolina. So there's a lot into this. You have kind of a revenge tour for South Carolina, and for Iowa, they're trying to keep this streak going that, hey, we could beat South Carolina. Iowa and South Carolina are ranked number 1 seeds, and they're the only 2 teams at the top of the mountain today, but only one team can hold up that trophy at the end. So I'm about to tell you what I think for both teams, what are the keys of success. South Carolina, they're going to have to utilize their mismatch, which is in their size and length on the floor. You have to assert your dominance in the paint with Camila Cardoso. If Watkins is out there and Fagan, you have to dominate what you have into your advantage, which is size, which Iowa does not have. You also have to make sure you're playing a little bit inside out. Dawn Staley says her philosophy now is get the most best available shot. So with Camila Cardoso, when her back is to that basket, she's also able to have court vision and kick it out to the perimeter to Raven Johnson, Tahina Pow, Bree Hall. You got to knock down your threes. That is a strength of South Carolina this year. That was a weakness for them last year against Iowa, and they forced them to shoot a lot of perimeter shots that they just couldn't make, but this year they can. If you're South Carolina, if you're ready to go fast and really speed up, because Iowa likes to play fast, you also have 2 starting 5s. Their bench, to me, is a faster set offense for South Carolina. They like to get out in transition and run, get to the basket. They love to put Mylasia Fuwiley out there with those starters in that second unit to get a spark. Tessa Johnson has been playing really well. So I expect them to utilize everything that they have at their arsenal. If you're South Carolina, how do you stop Iowa from being in that zone that they love to play that really disrupts a lot of great offenses? Last year, they played zone, getting those post players out of that post and forcing them to make a decision and getting you to shoot from the perimeter. Like I said, this South Carolina team can knock those threes down. Last year, they couldn't. So what will Iowa do? I'm sure they're going to stick to their zone. They play it about 39% of the time. It's really something that they stick to defensively, which causes problems. So for South Carolina, who do you have pop out in that middle to that elbow? How do you stop that zone? How do you neutralize it? How do you make them to go a little bit man on you? Chloe Kitts could come up big for South Carolina, popping up into that elbow, hitting those mid-range shots, and making it hard for Iowa in that zone. Defensively for South Carolina, you kind of got to take a page out of UConn's book. And understand, UConn was only rotating 6 to 7 players and playing straight up a lot of single coverage, switching on Caitlin Clark and making it difficult, picking her up immediately when she got the ball, putting a hand in her face, a body to her. South Carolina can do the same thing. I think that they like to play a lot of single coverage anyway. They trust a lot of their defense, especially with Raven Johnson. Most of the time, she is guarding one of the best perimeter players on the opposing team. But with them, you switch everything. Don't go under screens. You go over. You have to make sure Caitlin Clark feels you. But you also have to make sure you're looking at the others for Iowa that have really turned up big in this tournament. And that's Kate Martin and Sydney Folter and Hannah Stolke. You must also pay attention to them, because we know one thing about Caitlin Clark. She likes to get her teammates involved when she knows defenses are going to face guard her. So what can you do, South Carolina, to stop them? Because that's a big part of this picture. If you're Iowa, you trust what's already gotten you here, which is playing fast and going to your perimeter shots. Gabby Marshall likes to hit down those perimeter shots. Kate Martin, to me, and Sydney Folter are the 2 people to circle and really star in this game. I think that they're going to come up big, especially Sydney Folter because of her size and her length. She has the ability to be able to really disrupt what South Carolina could do potentially in whatever defense that they have. So if you're Iowa, obviously you stick to what's gotten you here. Caitlin Clark had 41 points against this team last year. Yes, it's not the same team, but Caitlin Clark is who she is. This is her last collegiate game. We know that she's going to come out there and leave nothing left, no stone unturned, and she's going to make sure to assert her dominance that, hey, I don't care what defense you play, I'm going to shoot the ball. She had a lot of problems in that first half of frustrations against UConn because of how Nika Mule and how they were switching on her so much that she really couldn't get in her rhythm. But what did she do? She went ahead and said, you know what, I'm going to put my head down and go to the basket. I'm going to create different shots. I'm not going to settle for the three. I expect her to kind of do the same thing against South Carolina. She knows, hey, they have a lot of size and length. They can switch on me with whoever they have. Most likely, I'm going to see a lot in my face. But what can I do to neutralize that? Let me get to the basket. Maybe I can get them in foul trouble. Hannah Stolke has to be big in this game. She has to play strong in that post. Camila Cardoso has the size advantage, but you got to stand your own. Don't get in foul trouble. Challenge her. Make it hard. And make sure you're sitting there getting rebounds. That will be a big thing for Iowa in this game. Can you offensive rebound and defensive rebound better than South Carolina? They already have the size, but rebounding gives you a second opportunity and it takes an opportunity away from them. So if you're Iowa, you have to be big on the rebounding. You got to be big on the glass. If you're going to stay in zone, commit to that zone, but understand that you're going to have to play big in that post because we know South Carolina is going to have to utilize that against them. Again, if you're Iowa, perimeter shooting is your thing. If you're going to spread out the floor, try to get more switch, pick and rolls, and get that post player out of that post. So if you're Iowa, I'm bringing up my picker. I'm going to try to get Camila Cardoso out that paint. So I'm going to make it hard for them to make a decision because if you switch on me for Caitlin Clark, I'm either passing, I'm shooting this thing, or I'm going straight to the basket. Either way, they're going to have to try to neutralize the trees that will be in that post play for South Carolina. But if you're Iowa, you feel good about this. You could play up to their speed. You have perimeter shooting. Hannah Stolke has to play big. O'Grady's going to play big, I'm sure, when she gets those minutes in this game. But I like how Iowa looks in this offensively. I think they match in perimeter shooting and the ability to try to get to the basket. Like I said, Kate Martin, Sydney Folter are very big in this game. Gabby Marshall's going to have a hard defensive task, but she played great against UConn, and Paige Beckers really frustrated her. So I expect the same thing. Can you run South Carolina's perimeter shooters off that perimeter? It's going to be a good game for both these teams. I am excited for this game because I want to see a great game. I truly want to see a great game. I love what the journey has been for Iowa this year. I love the journey that has been for South Carolina this year. This is what you want March Madness to be. This is what you want the national championship to be. Two number one teams. Two teams that want the chance to hold up the trophy. And they both have their own motivations and storylines. Now it is time for us to see who's going to be the national champion today. And I am ready. Iowa versus South Carolina, like I said, I don't care what you got to do to make sure you're watching this game. Make sure you're watching it.